Cheers to you guys. I am so glad you're here. Let's get started. Let's talk about trends, tips, and starting points for an awesome 2025. I love it. Catherine says, so excited. Let's do this. Here we go. What are we going to talk about? I've got a lot to go over with you. I gave this workshop kind of when all the color trends started coming out in November, and I've added to it. So if you're with me in November, there's going to be a lot of new stuff even here because more trends keep popping up, more reports I got to show you. We're going to talk about trends versus fads, some kind of key things that everybody needs to know way beforehand, life cycle of trends, and why knowing this life cycle, we're going to look at different trends and where they're at in the life cycle. It's going to be key to your success in your conversations if you're a designer, stager with your clients. Color trends, we're going to have some predictions and we're going to vote. Some new and emerging 2025 design trends, some kitchen and bathroom trends, and business trends that affect those design trends. All right. Who is this for? You are absolutely in the right place if you are a new stager and designer or color lover. If you're just thinking about the industry, you have a passion for design, my real estate agents, my veteran stagers and designers, absolutely in the right place. And even those of you who just love design and color, you're just like, I want to know the latest trends. I love staying on top of this. You are in the right place. You're going to absolutely love this workshop. This is who this workshop is for. Basically, I love to share a lot of this. If you like to see rooms go like this to this, you're like me. You're one of those kind of small percentage of all of us who absolutely love to see these kind of, huge changes. And I've added a lot more to it. Who am I? If you don't know me, my name's Audra Slinky. I'm president of the Home Staging Resource. I We're celebrating actually 20 years in business this month. I actually have a fun little video I'm going to throw out in a blog this month to show you kind of my journey progression. And boy, was it ugly 20 years ago, but it's definitely changed. I started the first online mixed media staging and design training company way back when, after I had my staging company with my sister, that my sister still has to this day. I've shared the stage with Barbara Corcoran, Vern Yip, Sabrina Soto. I speak at a lot of different events, industry events. I've won lots of awards, but the thing that I absolutely am the most proud of is helping people who have this amazing love and passion for design and showing them how they can actually make money doing what they love. And I have done that for thousands of people through the 20 years, through my courses, for my staging and design course, my color course, my e-design course, and my most recent vacation rental design course. And you guys, if you've any of my people, if you've taken any of my courses, I get nervous every time I do one of these live events. So a little shout out in the chat room. If any of my people are on, I love it. Always kind of, it makes me feel like I'm also talking to my people and who I know, because I know there's a lot of you out there. All right. I want you guys to know that I didn't just, put my finger in the air talking about trends. I actually have a team of people, and I'm going to be citing a lot of sources for the research and the reason. I'm going to explain to you what I think is trending. It's not what I think, it's what research has shown. And it'll be Pinterest search trends, Google search trends, House reports, House is a industry, design industry reports, realtor.com, and even Yelp search trends. So I get a lot of this. We do deep dives into what's really happening every year when I give this workshop. I also get a lot of resources from some of my favorite design resources, which are listed, myriad of articles. I also attend the Las Vegas market and different markets like High Point, Las Vegas, the kitchen and bath design, and I'm going to feature some of the stuff that was there. If you don't know what that is, those are kind of large scale design markets for designers and retailers in the furnishing industry. And I also get all sorts of great trend advice from the people, my members that I work with every day. I have over 3,000 plus designers and stagers in the field that I do talk to on the regular through my private Facebook group. I have a private Facebook group, Stagers Connect, and this is kind of a place where people share, and this is what I get a lot of good information from. So, of course, first people I connected with are my longtime veteran designers here as well. So, it's not just, a lot of times you read an article and they just kind of come out of pure air, these trends. It's based on a lot of science and research. So let's talk about trends versus fads. A trend being it's more timeless, usually lasts about 3 to 10 years. Trends are subtle in nature because they're easy to live with. That's why we can deal with them for 3 to 10 years. And they typically involve altered classics. They also tend to rebound, kinda like a relationship or a boyfriend that you may have had when you were dating. You went from this type of guy to this type of guy to this type of guy. We kinda rebound with trends. Trends versus fads. Fads are a little bit different. A fad lasts less than 2 years typically. It's so hot that it quickly fades out. You get tired of it really quickly. Fad toys are good examples. And when the fad goes to Target, I joke it's all over. But truthfully, sometimes something is released as a trend and a fad. And I've been giving these workshops for many, many years now. Sometimes things that we think are a trend actually get so hot, almost too hot, that the life cycle shortens and it kind of becomes a fad. Think like millennial pink, short, obviously Barbie pink, certain things. And obviously I list chevron pattern. I'm old enough in the design world. How many of you guys have been in the designing for like 30 years? So you remember in the 2000s when chevron came out and it was so hot on every pillow, on every pattern that it just like went away pretty quickly. So what you thought would have been trending as a pattern, how many of you on there remember those days? But I also have to add some of my personal pet peeves. And I think now that I mention this to you, it's going to become probably a little bit of a pet peeve for you guys as well. A lot of times we look at trend articles, as we did our research even for this, and you see them listing all these hot, popular trends. And frankly, they're not trends. I mean, these are things that I would say are always trending because they're more design elements, design principles. um, for instance, a lot of times you'll see what's really trending texture and contrast. Well, texture and contrast are design principles that we always will put into the space that should always kind of be trending. It's not going to go out of style. You're never not going to see texture and contrast in a well-designed space. Same thing with sustainability. I'd like to think, and I see that a lot in reports, sustainability is really trending. Well, I'd like to think that'll always be trending, that will always kind of not be in a wasteful mode. High tech, of course, high tech is trending. I mean, who wants to stay with their old technology? So I see this a lot, and it's kind of my personal pet peeve. I love some Robin's like, yeah, I see that too. So true. Biophilic design. I'd like to think I know biophilic design. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of this new term for really bringing the outdoors in. But frankly, we have always been wanting to bring the outdoors in. So greenery in every room should be kind of this ongoing regular trend that we all just live with. Maximizing space and statement lighting, obviously, so I'm not going to say that in this. I'm not going to talk about those kind of things because they're always trending. I also, because I have been giving these trends workshops every year, a lot of the trends that I mentioned last year, I'm not going to mention as much this year because I don't want necessarily repeat. So you can always go to last year's and see, but I'm always on the lookout for what's kind of new and hot. So if you're thinking, wow, Audra didn't mention, green kitchen cabinets, also because I mentioned green. I think green is like the color of the decade, probably. So I mentioned it a couple years back. I like to be I know most of you guys, how many of you on this line are current designers and stagers? Go ahead in the chat and put me. I know I'm talking to most of you being kind of the tip of the spear. So a lot of the things when we're talking about life cycle of trends, I'm always trying to add something new that maybe you guys have not heard of in every time I do this. So I've got a few things, few tricks up my sleeves. And even if you're not, that's fine. So I added this slide as well because I think it's important, especially if you're a designer and stager, to discuss this, have this conversation with your clients, especially when they're picking renovation, fixed finishes, flooring, countertops, that sort of thing, even paint colors. there's a life cycle of a design trend, and this is very typical. At stage one, it's introduced. It's introduced, and the industry is just beginning to use it, especially in the design industry. Very new. Stage two, it starts rising up, becoming a little bit more popular. You start seeing it regularly as it becomes more accepted. Stage three, it's really peaking. Variations of that trend you're going to see are cropping up. Fluting, I'm going to mention. I mentioned that last year, but now we're seeing a lot of variations of it. So it's kind of peaking, and it's almost getting to the point of a little overuse sometimes, certain trends. Then we get into stage four where we're seeing the decline. It's just this excessive use, and it's a trend by the masses. We've seen this, of course, with gray and the gray vinyl flooring, and even now white. And then stage five is obsolescence, where it just is so overused. We saw this with the gray that now we're moving to warming everything up. So it's like a bad boyfriend, like I said. But it's good to know because we don't want our clients picking fixed finishes, unless they want to renovate every 5 to 10 years. We don't want them picking anything in the 3 to 4 to 5 if we can help it, right? Because they're going to get tired of it. How many of you guys remember these trends? Remember the brown Tuscan trend? We really rebounded with that with the gray trend, then the white and the black trend. Yes, so this is, and remember the 70s to the 80s. I mean, we can go way back, but we do, if you notice, there's just this rebounding because you just get tired of it. So like I said, the trends I listed last year, I'm not necessarily going to mention. You got to consider life cycle. My stagers, when you're thinking of trending furniture or furnishings, you have to consider storability when you purchase inventory, because my stagers, what can stack? I know curved things are so popular, but those curved items don't necessarily stack as well. And then especially those renovation decisions. And this is an interesting statistic. I'm going to give you a moment to look at it. But this was a recent kind of a recent house report, and these were the events that were triggering people's kitchen renovations. And the biggest reason why people were doing a kitchen renovation, you guessed it, they can no longer stand the style of their old kitchen. And I don't know about you, I'm seeing a lot of renovations where the before photo was not even 10 years ago. A lot of times where they're just so over, 10 years ago being the gray trend, and they're just already over that. So this is interesting, and it feels like, and tell me if I'm right, if you put I agree in the chat. Do you feel like trends are moving so much quickly than they used to? They're moving fast. We're kind of in this information society, information overload. And it used to be like a color trend. I used to say 10 years solid. Now it's like a 7 year is long trend. It's just so fast. By the way, this is really good for us designers and stagers because it means they're going to be hiring us more and more often because they just need more advice. So let's talk about where things are in the life cycle. And I'd love to get your opinion. For instance, obviously what's been trending is kind of this dark and moody, um, and it's in it this extreme, and I've totally blanked out on the word, color drenching. Color drenching has been trending. Where do you think color drenching is in the life cycle? A scale of 1 to 5, 5 being at the end of the life cycle, 1 being in the beginning, where you're seeing, and I love this photo. This is done by one of my members, Dayuni. She actually, this is a therapist office she redid, which kind of really makes sense. So it's very calming. I love it. Yeah. So I'm surprised. And I know that a lot of my designers, some of you may be saying, I've never even heard of color drenching, in which case you would say it's a 1. But of course, I know a lot of my designers and stagers, you've heard of this, been around for a while. Again, you guys are my tip of the spear. Oops, let me go back. What about these white and black kitchens? And now I know there's a level of timelessness with neutrals like white, but with the black hardware, the black windows, where do you think that is in the life cycle? And I would say even probably older. Yeah. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of new builds are still doing this. And this is crazy, curvy furniture. I mean, I remember when I introduced curved couches as trending. I want to say this has been like 8 years ago in my trends workshop, and people were like, no way, Audra. Well, curve is everywhere, everything. So crazy. So funny. So here's the thing. Trends expose era. It's so hard when people want to do a kitchen remodel or a bath, you want to try and think of what is timeless. But it's so easy to give into what feels hot, and that's what's trending. And it's okay to give into what's hot and trending in those small doses because that's what's going to give it that kind of personality. Remodeling is hot. It is better to go timeless, obviously, on those big expenditures, on those big purchases, because it's easy to make those life cycle design mistakes. Um, yeah, you guys, I love it. So let's talk about last year's color trends. Let's talk color trends first. Blue is the clear winner for our paint companies. We're obviously warming up the white and black trend with some more creams and naturals, softer, earthy shades of brown and green, caramel and cognac. Moody tones were kind of becoming, more prevalent. And obviously, there was that really hot, quick Barbiecore pink fad that was a blip. And thank you, Young House Love, for putting all these colors in a lovely graphic. But I think it's important for us to see it visually. These were the colors of the year that the paint color companies picked last year. And we always have to give this some attention because these paint companies know a little bit about what's trending, right? They can see who's buying what. And this was last year's. This year, we're going deeper, a little bit more cozy, a little bit more moody color tones. We're definitely rebounding more off that gray, white, and black trend, complementing saturated colors, more chocolate browns instead of the softer browns. We're getting more chocolatey, subtle blues, rich plums, ruby reds, calming colors. Here is what the paint companies picked this year. Are you guys seeing a pattern? I'd be curious in the chat what your take is on this. Very interesting, right? All very similar. And this is so unique because for the first time last 2 years, the paint companies have been really more in sync. It's interesting. And again, I think it's very much we are rebounding. Um, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Pantone's usually the last to pick. And so this was their color of the year. Again, keeping in line with what those paint companies picked, which is interesting because usually Pantone just takes a huge left turn. So if I'm going to wrap it up, I'm going to say while the hues of 2024 centered around soothing earth tones, subtle moody hues, shades of blue, 2025 turns up the color volume with more rich, bold, and saturated shades. Flamboyant tones, earthy neutrals, plums, chocolates, warm metallics are among trending colors. These hues and depth add depth, warmth, and sophistication, rebounding off those sleek, starker gray, black and white trend, looking more serene, rich, dark, complementing blues, greens, and those warmer, creamier neutrals. People are going bolder. That's always really good news for us as designers, and even if you're a color consultant, because when people want to go bold in their paint color, oh boy, do they make mistakes, right? How many of you have ever made a mistake choosing a bolder paint color on a wall? Me. So that really means they're going to need us at that point. So let's talk about who picked best. And I'm going to quickly line them up for you. Benjamin Moore picked Cinnamon Slate. There's that. I want you to take note of your favorite because you're going to vote after I run through these. Sherwin-Williams got a little crazy this year. They picked 3 different colors, but for the interest of this, I'm going to go with their top color, which was Grounded. And then, of course, they always have to do another one, which is HGTV. So interestingly, they pick 4, then they pick Grounded, and now they also have their HGTV, and that's Quietude, blue. C2, color of the year, Roku. Glidden did purple basil. Valspar picked Encore. And boy, do these paint companies need a designer to help design the room in which they paint it. I always laugh at that every year because the rooms are always not very well designed for their big release of the paint color of the year. Do you guys agree with me on that one? Side note, it's like, where is the designer in the space? Dutch Boy Matte Blue, for instance, would the designer go with the matte blue and then these window coverings? I'm sorry. Anyway. Robin said she was thinking the same thing. Happens every year when I share these photos. Now that I've told you, you're going to be like, why do they do this? Do they really understand color? No, I'm kidding. And then Dan Edwards picked caramelized. Stainmaster picked truffle. There, and Minwax, and just in case you wanted to hear them all, picked violet. Okay. And little green. I'm going crazy. Mochi. All right. So here's the colors of the year. I am going to find my test and survey for you and start. Hopefully you see it. What paint color? Hopefully you can see that survey. You might have to play around with it. Oh, I see some of you are figuring it out. Get your votes in. So far, I'm seeing you guys pretty by and large. You're loving the Benjamin Moore. See, I put this one up here so you could see it. Benjamin Moore, 67%. Wow. 10% Sherwin-Williams, 11% Dutch Boy, Pantone 6%. Really, by and large, you guys picked Benjamin Moore. Yeah, Amanda says Benjamin Moore is always in the groove, and she's right. All right, 4, 3, get your vote in. 2, 1. I'm ending this poll now. Okay. Can you see my screen okay? Want to make sure I'm doing this right. If you can, go ahead and put yes. All right, great. So honey neutrals. As we shift further away from those cooler tones, toasty neutrals are starting to play that necessary role, balancing those bold accents, and they really do help to add layer and warmth to the room. I did. If you ever want to have a lot of fun and you want to see what's really trending, you go to realtor.com, you search for homes, new build homes in the upper millions in a big city, and you're going to find some incredibly, the builders know what they're doing. So I can't help but do a lot of that when we're researching for this. And you guys can see my screen, right? You see this beautiful kitchen. Now, this was a $2 million new build. And yeah, it just helps you kind of see and stay on touch with the trends. I'm seeing a lot of trends in this kitchen. Striking plums in the coming year, color experts anticipate a surge in the popularity. And, they've claimed that a lot, but we shall really see. But of course, who doesn't love Studio McGee? Here's their Instagram. And another one where they used kind of that aubergine. I'm going to share a lot of Instagram people that I follow too. So if you want to have your phone up and you can take a photo and then you can follow them later because it's just some fun designers. Chocolate browns, of course, you saw a couple of the paint colors. Pick that. It's a continuation of the trend again, shifting away with comforting, soothing schemes. JH Interior Design. Look at this beautiful room. And Blanc Marine Living. Here's that fluting. You're going to see a lot of that. How many of you are using this in your designs? A lot of these. This was an unexpected one for me, the artist ochre, but when I really did start going to a lot of hot designers sites, I did see them using this color. It's kind of that more mustard, earthy, rich yellows popping in both interiors and fashion. And other worldly blues, mid-tone blues. I mean, blue is really almost like a neutral these days, right? Who doesn't love it? Blues and greens. And I love this. How many of you follow Duval Kitchens? If nothing else, you're going to want to follow them. I love their stuff. And here is a kitchen they did where they mixed both the otherworldly and the artist ochre. There it is in this beautiful space. And the rich ruby reds. No, it's funny. I've been around long enough to remember when red was kind of hot during the Tuscan trend, red and burgundy. In fact, my very first website had a burgundy accent. Uh, but, then it was just like super taboo. Nobody used red and burgundy. It was so overused. It's just like none for a long, long time. And color forecasters are thinking it's making its return. Somebody said no. I get it. But here's a pretty room that my Studio McGee in red, sh- or Kelsey Lay design. Sorry, that's that one. And again, I didn't pick these out of my hat. This was Pinterest Predicts because Pinterest, can see how many of you search and regularly look for photos on Pinterest. And I always go to the ones that are huge percentages. Green home decor, of course, green is kind of been the color of this decade. Um, Sage and blue color palette, serene color palette, you know. So these are the dark green bathroom, dark green home offices. So obviously, long time trending. This is worth pointing out. This was in Fixer. This was last year, but I thought what was interesting about this because they interviewed a bunch of designers for this for paint and color trends, and 46% are obviously called the earthy tones, warm neutrals, those greens, those blues. But what was interesting was what was at the bottom, right? Grays and even the black and whites trends. And what's interesting about this is how many of you, I'm still seeing a lot of new builds and a lot of home flips where they're just going with that standard black, white, and gray. How many of you are still seeing that in your area? I'm in California. We're supposed to be better. But I'm still seeing it. And those new homeowners are going to be ripping that out before they know it. It's an expensive, silly choice to go. So for those of you who love color, like me, I have to tell you about a color course that I have. It's a 3-day online color course. It's called the Certified Color Expert course, and it has won, most innovative product of the year awards, won a lot of awards. And basically, I walk you through kind of these 6 modules, how to pick the right, not just paint colors, but finishes. A little bit of what we're talking about here in this trends workshop, but in a lot, where we talk about trending finishes, timeless finishes to help people pick the right kitchen, bath, because we want those colors to all get along, because not all colors get along, not all finishes get along. So I have kind of my formula for that, how to interpret color, how to create that palette for the clients, the rules to follow, um, rules, also show you a lot of what's broken that you don't want to do, and then also walk you through how to do a consultation with a client and how to market this new service for people who like want to dip their toe into design and just do color consultations. This is a great course. And I have a lot of my stagers who actually took my staging course, which is kind of a 3-week, and then they take this 3-day. If you're a designer, stager, and color, you hate specifying color, this course will be an absolute solution, game changer for you. We have these Canva templates that you can give to your clients. It's kind of like a template that you can leave behind with them. So it adds a lot of value. We have a lot of marketing templates. And the big thing is I have my Bible, my color Bible, where I pick the top 100 plus Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, the paint colors that are the most used, because the secret sauce is there are thousands of colors that people can get drowning in, but really a top 200 that most people use. And I list them by type and tone so that you can narrow it down to the tone and the space that the client needs. They can test these 3 colors, but any one of those colors is going to work for them. Oh, thanks, Crystal. Oh, thanks, Tammy. You guys are so sweet. I love that. They said they took the course and absolutely loved it. It really just, solves all of that. So if you're become a color consultant, I love this. Joyce says, my previous color training was good, but super technical. I'm not a non-techie. I like to just break things down, put it in a formula so it makes sense for you. So next off, I'm going to talk about a lot of emerging 2025 trends. I'm going to talk about kitchen trends. I'm going to talk bath trends. I'm going to continue on with my presentation. Before I do, so my staging course is 3 weeks. Those of you, thanks, Terry, who have taken my staging course, I just completely redid the redesign design section. It is awesome. And marketing the redesign section. And I did a whole new trade Vegas shopping where I showed you all the fun finds that I did. So we're always adding and evolving my courses. So you might want to jump in there and relook at that. But it basically is 3 weeks. If you ever thought you wanted to take your passion and start a business, this is the course that has launched so many staging and design businesses. And it's because it's 3 weeks, it's intense. I could not give my course in a 15-hour course. It has all the resources, all the guides, all the templates that you would need. My e-design course, so because a lot of people ask me about what's the difference between all your courses. My e-design course, how many of you in the chat use design files to create concept boards for your clients? Anyway, if you do, what we did is I came up with this course because I thought, wouldn't it be great if when I have a design files account, I have a tab that has hundreds of templates, 100 plus templates that I could pull from an old client template and swap out a little products and give it to the client as an example of, are we on the right track? So what we did is we created those 100 plus templates so that when you sign up for design files, or if you already have a design files account, when you take this course, you get all those templates into your account. So it's just a huge, huge time saver. You're not reinventing the wheel. And so you have, they're listed by design, by style. There are different rooms, bedrooms, offices, living rooms. We've got all sorts. So if you're interested in any one of my courses, the way to get the information, homestagingresource.com. Thanks, you guys. Under the courses, just go to the course that you're interested in. Let's talk about those emerging 2025 trends. I'm going to go really quickly through them and I'm going to show you photos of what I mean because I'm a visual person. I need to see it. Japanese influence, organic modern, dark and moody, cozy English countryside, curves with waves and scalloped edges, those fluting times 10. I'm going to show you what I mean. Statement stoneware, textured walls and ceilings are getting a real overwork, and beyond boucle. How many of you can put it in the chat, of these are using them regularly? I'll just be curious, which one are you most embracing of this? And now I can talk about them. According to House, emerging trends of search trends on House, and most people on House are designers and stagers, and there's some just average, but that's where a lot of us go, where we get our inspiration. I love it. You guys are great. I love, what a great chat we have. But the searches were up quite a bit for Japandi living room, wabi sabi, Japanese kitchen, Japanese bedroom, Zen garden. So when they notice this, they go, "Whoa, this is happening." Organic modern. Organic modern has been trending because I mean, the whole idea of organic modern, it kind of reminds me of biophilic design, right? It's using natural elements to really create the space. and um and we are all embracing those natural kind of curated elements, curated look, and it's up 245%. So huge, huge search trend up. I love, this is a good example of it, and I really love this before and after Zoe Feldman design because this looks like so many new build homes, right? I mean, San Diego, these homes were all over, and then look at the personality that she put in the space. Um, just from the greenery to the ceramics, to the wood, it's just, she really warmed it up. It's pretty. Dark and moody, obviously dark and moody. Searches are up. Moody living room, moody kitchen, moody bedroom, dark ceiling, dark and moody powder room. Obviously, the color drenching, you guys know, you've seen, but it's kind of going up level to even more. We're seeing it more often. Here's an example, really good example where everything's drenched in the same color. Here's another good example. Part of me wonders how long you could live with that. What do you guys think? It's okay. It really reflects the mood that you want to create in the space. But yeah, I have to though show you the before and afters. This is the same therapist office that I showed you Dayuni Carter did. This is the before photo of the therapist office. And here is the after photo. Obviously the plaster, the walls, the smooth walls, plaster, the color, deep colors. It's beautiful. Here's the before photo. And here's the after photo of the room and the space. It's really pretty. Reading rooms are up. Dark academia, snug, book nook, library wall. How many of you know what snug is? I'll be curious in the chat. Snug is kind of a newer term these days. In the UK, the word snug has multiple meanings, including warm and comfortable. This kind of follows the English cottage trend that we're seeing. Small but comfortable, well ordered and compact, sheltered and secure, fitting closely, comfortably. It usually also follows kind of historic homes. And so this is kind of photo examples, of what you're going to see of that, kind of the English country. And one of the reasons why English country, I mentioned, is obviously making a comeback is Duval. How many of you guys how many of you guys have never heard of Duval kitchens? I'm just going to be curious. It's okay to say. Uh, Duval Kitchens, and obviously thanks to HGTV, they're on. It's a very curated kitchen renovation where they actually curate and create almost everything in a kitchen. And here's their website if you want to see it. But here are some of the kitchens, and I just love to showcase some of the ooh and the ahhing. It's very timeless, classic styles. All of it's very unique. There's nothing cookie cutter about it. And they create these pulls and these faucets, and you can actually people are purchasing, things from it and the cabinets. So it's kind of yeah, someone says, "Love their kitchens." I do too. Uh, Becky Owens, here's the before of a kitchen, English country, and here's just after giving it a more kind of timeless, not timeless, but more of an old look. Here, oh, curves go scalloped, right? I saw a lot of scalloped. I saw that even at the Las Vegas market. I don't know if you're seeing that, but that's the before. Here's the after where you can see the couch, just the waves, curves, times 10. Here it is again in furnishings. And here it is again, just the little details. Look at this marble backsplash. Look at the beautiful detail there, which is just the curve and the wave. Just unique. Fluting. Ooh, somebody says they predict scallops are the chevrons of the day. It'll go fast. I'm wondering how long fluting is going to last because I'm seeing it like everywhere, right? I don't know. That's just me. Here it is. I love this is Kelly Sharp, one of my grads. She's a fantastic kitchen designer. I'm going to show you some of her work even more. Here's a bathroom. She's really good at unifying the space. This was a new build. And so scallop, obviously we're used to seeing it in the furniture, but here it is in the fireplace. Now we're seeing it in stonework. Here it is in the hood of this new build kitchen. Obviously here it is in the furniture. We see it in a lot of the bathroom furniture. Oh, here it is again. And again, underneath. Yeah, someone's hard to clean the grooves, somebody said. Not very user friendly. And if you think it's going away, KBIS just had their show, the Kitchen and Bath Show. Was that last month? This was courtesy of Carla, who went. This booth, the Cosentino booth, was the winning booth design. Notice the island. Now, if I start seeing fluting like this, instead of a waterfall island, it's a fluted island. Imagine the maintenance headache of this. Whoa. Yeah. Interesting, right? I love this stuff. Okay, a statement stoneware. How many of you guys, especially my stagers, I know you do this, use a lot of that. Ceramics, stonewares. Again, that goes with that, organic modern design, using a lot of statement stoneware. I love to feature a lot of my girl, Leah Ward, who took my training many years ago. She designs for celebrities. This is just on her Instagram. And here she is she actually did a show for Design Network where she was featured in her design work, and here she is doing. Here's the statement stoneware that she kind of picked for the client. It's kind of like masterpieces, when you walk in. Yeah, it's unique, hand created. Very proud of her. Here it is here on this beautiful kitchen counter. Heavily textured walls. Now, this is not, I mean, we've been seeing this for a while, but it's almost like no plain walls exist these days. Are you feeling me here? So, and the texture's going next level where it's even, being stone work. Are you seeing this? And maybe this is part of that kind of more European flex where I mentioned the English, the French. And for those of you who are like, oh, does this mean Tuscan's coming back? No. I mean, element, yes, the stone is probably an element of that, but it's far more than that we're seeing. Small space wallpaper, of course, wallpapers, trending more. Again, people are going bold. People feel free to express themselves more, and wallpaper is just one of those wonderful ways to do that. These were some of the photos that one of my graduates shared, Holly Cohen, of some fun small spaces where she just got a little crazy, and people are going big space as well. Big space mural wallpaper is very popular as well. Here's the what I don't necessarily like to see: the geometric. How many of you um, are a fan of, or how many of you don't really like geometric wall designs? Yeah. So here's the thing. I know that I'm seeing it even in a lot of new builds. I'm going to show you some. It works when it can be like the focal point. It has to be layered. So in this room, not working, right? It's just like boom over there. It just doesn't go. It's a lot of work for something that just doesn't really work. So here it is again, just not part of the design plan, just sidewall. And that's when it really doesn't work and it looks frankly kind of odd. Here's when I think it works. Here's where I think it can add interest and architectural interest to a space when it is layered in the backdrop of a space, the focal point from the viewpoint of when you're there. Here's again where it's kind of layered, where it works when you can do this kind of millwork. Yeah, it has to fit with the design plan. Beyond Boucle. Here we are at the Vegas market. There is my wonderful sister who I told you 20 years ago, she and I started her staging business. She is cranking in her design work today in Santa Cruz. How many of you are digging on these chairs? I don't, can you imagine cleaning these things? I don't know. Somebody cozy, cozy, but they were all over, all over. Forehands. How many of you like forehands? Me? Saw it a lot. Sheep. Now I call this when Restoration Hardware listed these everything. They had a whole Sherpa. It was their Sherpa line like 5 years ago, and it's like almost everybody's embraced it. My dog would attack it. Somebody says, "Here's my sister with drink in hand," because when you go to the this is one of the benefits to becoming a stager and designer. You get to go to these markets and drink your way through all these showrooms and shop at 50% off. Super fun. Sculptural furniture. So my girl Gina Galing in Florida, and this is Florida. She says she's loving kind of interesting sculptural pieces. How many of you are embracing that? Be curious. Rob, one of my members who I love, my Boston Rob, he's embracing kind of neoclassical because obviously we know a lot of historical people are going back to antiquing, things like that. So adding a little fun element to that. There's just a real focus on the details. I told you, people are feeling more playful. They're feeling like it doesn't need to be so plain. Again, we're rebounding off of either people will find your clients will want totally simple, keep it to just neutrals, all beige, just keep it very simple and modern, or they're going to go more playful, fun, colorful details, mixing patterns. It depends on your client's personal taste, but there's more freedom these days involved with that. And I saw that even at the market. Here is a little side table. I love the legs of this little side table up here. Just kind of fun and unique. There's just obviously been this strong focus on decorating. This is a Yelp search, and this really hasn't changed. Where accents, decorating accents, what people can buy. And this kind of almost follows because there's also been this huge surge in online shopping, right? Online shopping has gone through the roof in the last 15 years. And sadly, a lot of brick and mortar people can't get their furnishings in brick and mortar. They're having to rely on online and count on that. And that's what's led to the rise of e-design, right? Creating concept boards so that they can kind of see it beforehand and see it all together to see how it will work. Definitely has been helping us in our as a design and stager. Here is according to these hot and trending design styles, fastest rising, and this is by search volume. I'm going to show you the numbers, but of course they say brutalism, maximalism, organic, modern, Japandi, English country. These are their fastest rising interior design styles. And I'm going to preface when I show you the search volume. Fast fading interior design, search volume, modern Victorian, modern country, transitional. I don't necessarily see transitional necessarily fading because that's just kind of always been a popular, that's still, even according to House, very popular kitchen design style. Um, and the most popular design trends, mid-century modern, modern farmhouse, and minimalism. This is according to their search, Google search, okay? But what I want you to notice that while brutalism was listed as, fast rising, it had a search increase of 91%, but only 3,700 monthly views. And, unfortunately, I'd love to say that, this is 2023 because they don't always, these reports, this came out last year. I don't have the report yet for this year. Maximalist. So you have to think of, I go by search views. Like this is a drop in the bucket, brutalism, compared to the maximalist search, people searching for that, and the minimalist. And I talked about that. Your client a lot of times will be either one or the other. But I find this interesting because I like to look at the numbers behind what we do. Let's talk about kitchen trends. What are some of the kitchen trends that you're liking right now? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Because like I say, we always learn from each other. And I know there's trends that I listed last year, and you can say it, that's people can be reading this, your comments while they're watching this. I have a lot of people who tell me they go back to this workshop and watch it like a few times because they like to see all the photos. But here we go. I better start reading. The return of open concept, larger islands. Here's the data behind that. House just came out with their kitchen report. And yes, every year, the last 3 years, more and more people were rebounding off of COVID when people closed up. We got sick of each other with the open concept, but now we're going back to open concept being one thing we really like. We like the big space. Here's a before photo of my sister's work. This is the kind of homes my sister has to tackle. Staging. Here's the after. She's amazing. Uh, Modern traditional style. And then we've been seeing this trend, darker wood tones. We're seeing that. Pantries, back kitchens, hidden features, beverage centers, more hidden. Counter shelves. How many of you guys are seeing a lot of those? Here you go. Like I said, this is why transitional is not going anywhere. It's this is according to the latest. This was just last month, the House report 2025. Transitional took a dip. Traditional skyrocketed. People are going more traditional. Interestingly, I love this kitchen design by Kimberly Parker Design in Utah. I don't know if you noticed, but she had this cabinet at the end, the two-toned. Again, we're seeing that where you have this entire bar center kind of hidden. So hidden spaces, very also practical and functional. If you're entertaining, your guests can help themselves to a drink and not be in your way as the cook. I love that. I love that too, Robin. And here is my girl again, Kelly Sharp, before photo of a kitchen. And they spent a lot of money on this kitchen remodel when they originally did this remodel. And here's the after. Here is that counter, the backsplash shelf, that you're going to see, that I'm just seeing everywhere now. Usually there's little art or something on it. Obviously that mixed tones, wood, it's beautiful. Counter shelves, I guess is what I meant. And here's the interesting thing, and I don't know how many of you guys did see that the new house report on kitchen spending. Investment in kitchen renovations and bath renovations reaches a new high. So the last time I gave this workshop, which was only November, I had the numbers for last year, which were 2023, 2022, because it was the 2024 numbers, where a major remodel bumped from 4,500 to 55, sorry, 45,000 to 55,000. And for larger kitchens, 50 to 66,000. Now that may not seem like that much to you, but that is a huge increase in year over year. That's 15% in spending. This is this year's number. A major remodel for the 90th, so they actually added in the 90th percentile. So people who are spending a little bit more, It went from 60 to 180,000 is what they're spending on in their kitchen renovations. How many of you are surprised by this? Anybody? No. If you've been designing or renovating kitchens, I have been telling my stagers and designers to start kind of pivoting and working, doing that because kitchens have never been older than they are today. A lot of them. Here it is, the spend on bigger kitchens, 200,000. Out of control. Very exciting. I love it. See, I get that too. If you're in anyone, it's a very exciting time to be a stager and designer. Kitchen spending. People get it. New build trends that are a bust. Gray vinyl flooring. I'm going to go quickly. I'm still seeing it. These are new build photos I pulled. The geometric accent walls. Wow. Look at that. The way they did it. Again, nothing to do with space. Excessive black hardware. I'm still seeing it. And here's the thing, black hardware on its own is okay, but it has to relate. It has to relate to something else in the space. Otherwise, it looks like little black holes. Here it is again, where it's just this black, white. And these are new builds, you guys. I pulled this straight out. Black and white exteriors. How many of you see this in your neighborhoods? All these new build neighborhoods. And I'm not saying that painting a home all black is bad. In the time and space, this was one of the designers I followed, Renard Lowell. He's great. Um, so I pulled some of this from his insight. In a space like this, it works. It looks good. Problem is, we're seeing him all over in every new build. Are you guys seeing this in your areas, in the new build areas? New construction, black, white, black, white, black, white, everywhere. Yeah. Yes. The solid marble counter splashes, and that has been trending. And there's nothing wrong with it when it is a very expensive, good stone like this kitchen. Look at this kitchen. Beautiful stone, not cheap stone. Looks beautiful. But in a lot of the new builds, it just doesn't fly as well. The stone's kind of glossy. And here's that other example of it. It just doesn't go as well. We could be more creative than that. And then the linear fireplaces, I do see these everywhere. And obviously, time and place in a modern home, maybe. But it's just, I think that this new homeowner, this was a very multi-million dollar new build. I think this is going to get really old really fast. It just doesn't lend itself to the space. Look at this one. And here's another one. I mean, they're going to be wanting to tear this out sooner than later. And this is an expensive tear out. Do you agree? This is why people need us, you guys. This is why you guys being here, taking a training like this, and this is why I do this sort of research, because I didn't really notice how many linear fireplaces and new builds until I started looking. Wow, they're everywhere. Most important thing when you're in the industry, if you're thinking about getting into the industry and you're thinking, oh, is it too late for me? Is it saturated? There's so much work, so much business because America's housing is older than it's ever been. I've been saying this. After 20 years, when a house is 20 years old, the renovation spending spikes 15% at least. That's why they're spending up to 200,000 just renovating a kitchen. People have equity in their homes. They want it to look good and they need it to be updated. So we've been in this renovation boom for years. And if you think it's going anywhere, here's the latest report through to 2028. In the next 3 years, data suggests a substantial number of renovations because these homes are so old, they haven't been touched. And they think it'll happen through 2030. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be in this industry. Those higher interest rates have kind of led to this renovation boom because people have equity, they have low interest rates, so there's little incentives to put. Here's the good news for my stagers because the housing and the real estate market's been in this lull because of these interest rates. The prediction is when those interest rates go down, which could be very easily this year, those people with what they call the golden handcuffs will be selling. And they think there'll be a glut, a lot of homes on the market, a lot of movement. So staging will be hot then. So it's never been a better time to be a stager and designer. I always say it's good to do both because both will hedge your business. Design is hot. It has been hot. But I was around in 2008 when nobody had money for designers. That was considered luxury. And staging still stayed around. So it's a great time to be in this industry. Continued rise in online shopping really leads people to needing design help. Don't be afraid if you are a designer stager and you're wondering, how do I get more work? You got to tell the ugly story. And I share these photos of what not to do. These are the ugly stories. It's okay to don't do that. In your renovation, you're going to be sick of that in 2 years. Where is it in the life cycle? Talk to your clients about that. Um, Here is that online shopping I told you. This is why people need the concept boards. I know most of you do. How many of you do in your design and staging concept plans, concept boards, I would hope, before you actually do the full design? Yeah, they're essential. Uh, and how many of you saw the latest house report just came out a couple weeks ago? Optimism prevails. So as crazy as everything feels sometimes right now, our industry is nothing but optimistic. In For designers, we actually designers and stagers were the most optimistic, more than even general contractors. Look at these numbers, you guys. This just came out. So general contractors, 19% thought this year would be very good for them. 21% of interior designers and stagers. So we are on the, and 49 thought good to very good. So it's a very, good time. Definitely optimistic. Um, Expected revenue change, huge for designers. We were the highest amount. So it's very exciting, a very good time. And they interview hundreds of designers and contractors, residential build. This is in the house report. That's why I like to see this report, because it kind of has a finger on the pulse of our industry. So how is your 2025 going to look? I always say change is a factor. So if you are in the industry and you're thinking this is maybe a time to up level your business, adapting, embracing, maybe adding a new service. That's why I have my vacation rental, my color, my e-design. It's another service that you can offer to hedge your business. Or if you're not, how many of you on this chat were thinking about jumping into design and staging? You're the kind of person that your friends and family always ask design advice for. That's usually those are the people I always hear. I want you to know that there's definitely a path to success for you, that I have been training people to success. I told you Leah Ward, she's on the Design Network for 20 years now. So I hope you consider, you don't need a 4-year degree to do this. You really don't. I'd love to be your guide and partner. So for a lot of you, you just want to dip your toe into design. Do concept boards, e-design, color. If you love color, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. There's so much opportunity. And here's the thing. I am very unique as a trainer. I have a unheard of 72 hours, no questions asked refund policy, meaning if you jump into the training, and you can look at the materials within those 72 hours, if it's not a fit for you, you can email us and we just refund you. So I believe that it's important for you to see what you're getting into. And I can confidently say that because I never really have people do that because they love it so much. I get testimonials daily. So, not you need to brag, but I do. It will launch. It'll create something awesome for you if this is something you think you want to do. How many of you in this chat learned a little something from me in this short time that we had together? If you did, put me or a thumbs up or a love or whatever. If you did me, I always like to say this. So I only say, well, imagine 3 weeks with me. And this is another reason why I do these webinars, so that you can see what you're getting into. Because I don't know about you, I have taken some pretty boring webinars. And so if you buy the training, it's going to be a grind. If you really like that, if you're my person, and this is why it's really matters if we are a match. you know, Wine usually is a connector, the happy hour. Just kidding. Anyway, imagine 3 weeks with me. I always like to say. Because in the end, there were so many of you who said that you've always wondered what it would be like to dip your toe into design. Here's what I hear from my people. In the end, the only regret they have is they wish they started this earlier. They wish they bet on themselves sooner. When you choose yourself, you will be amazed at the things that you can do and the challenges you can overcome and the energy and the momentum that you will feel. So, cheers to you guys. You guys were great. Oh, thank you, Melanie. Melanie says thank you for um somebody's taking my course for a year. I have a lot to share. I just did a bunch of fun success videos. Hopefully you loved all those before and after videos. You guys were wonderful. We kept it just to the hour. If you have question on any of my courses or anything, I am very accessible. And I just want you to know that you can always email me back if you have a question. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to help, to be a part of that. Thank you, Melanie. Cheers to you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.